Sometimes it's like the most inspiring stories kind of come from the most unexpected places, right? And this deep dive, well, it takes us right into one of those stories. It's about the incredible way Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, they stepped up big time to help everyone affected by those recent LA wildfires.
Yeah, and it's fascinating how it goes way beyond like a typical celebrity donation. This is about two people from completely different worlds coming together.
Right. And it's not just about writing a check.
Right.
Speaking of which, the fires themselves were just devastating.
Absolutely.
Families displaced, homes like completely gone, just ashes.
Yeah.
The emotional toll, it's hard to even imagine.
Yeah.
And the transcript really brings that human element, that real impact to the forefront.
It really does. I mean, it paints this picture of just lives completely upended.
Yeah.
There's a story about a woman named Sarah. She's actually featured prominently in the video.
Oh, wow.
And she lost everything. Her story, well, it's really at the heart of what made this initiative so powerful.
It's stories like Sarah's that kind of remind us why this matters.
Right.
So we've got this backdrop of just complete devastation, and then enter Taylor Swift.
Right.
This music phenomenon.
Star.
But what struck me was how deep her commitment to giving back goes,
Yeah.
This wasn't just a one-off thing for her at all.
You're absolutely right. The transcript actually mentions her history of supporting all sorts of things.
Really?
Education initiatives, disaster relief efforts, and LGBTQ plus rights.
That's incredible.
Clear this is something that's important to her.
And then you have Travis Kelce. Most people know him as that, Kansas City Chiefs tight end.
Oh, yeah.
But the transcript shows he's really dedicated to community work, too.
He is.
Especially focusing on empowering youth and educational access.
Absolutely.
So interesting to see how their passions kind of converged here, right?
Totally. It's this shared desire to, uplift others that seems to have sparked this whole collaboration.
It really does make you wonder, how did these two incredibly busy people actually make this happen, The transcript gives some pretty interesting details about that.
It does.
Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah.
This event they put together, it wasn't just your average fundraiser, right?
Right.
Tell me more about what they actually did.
So they organized this incredible charity event.
Okay.
Brought together performances, auctions, even a meet and greet.
Wow.
And, it was more than just the activities themselves.
Sure.
What really stands out in the transcript is how personally involved both Taylor and Travis were.
Oh, wow.
For example, Taylor debuted a brand new song.
No way.
She wrote it specifically for this event, dedicated to the victims.
Wow, that's powerful.
It was this incredible moment. The transcript describes it in detail.
I bet. I can only imagine what that must have been like for everyone there.
Oh, it was powerful.
And Travis, what about him? Did he do anything above and beyond?
He did. He optioned off a signed helmet.
Oh, wow.
From the Super Bowl, and the bidding went crazy.
I bet.
But what was really touching was what he did with the money.
Okay.
Instead of just adding it to the, general fund, he earmarked it to help rebuild Sarah's music school, which was totally destroyed in the fire.
Oh, my gosh, that's amazing. So it wasn't just about raising money.
Right.
It was about, making a targeted impact, a personal impact.
Absolutely.
So we have these two, powerhouse figures putting their heart and soul into this event.
Yeah.
What was the community's response like?
Well, the outpouring of support was just incredible.
I bet.
The transcript talks about how fans from all over just rallied to contribute. Local businesses, they donated all kinds of things for the auction.
Wow.
Volunteers, they came out in droves to help set everything up.
That's great.
And there was just this palpable sense of unity.
Yeah, it really speaks to that power of collective action,
It really does.
I can't help but think about Sarah again. I mean, she lost everything. But the transcript talks about how she found hope in the middle of all that chaos. How did this initiative touch her life specifically?
That's where it goes way beyond just a celebrity charity event.
Right.
The money they raised helped Sarah get back on her feet.
Of course.
But what really impacted her was this sense of community and shared purpose that came out of it.
That's amazing.
The transcript talks about how, meeting Taylor and Travis and just seeing so many people come together to support her gave her this renewed sense of hope, this belief that she could rebuild her life.
There's something so powerful about that human connection, that shared experience of overcoming adversity.
Right. For sure.
It's like it transcended the tragedy itself. But it wasn't just a one-time thing, was it?
No, not at all.
And that's where the real legacy of this whole collaboration lies, right?
I think so.
The transcript reveals that Taylor and Travis decided to set up a long-term relief fund.
They did.
To provide ongoing support to wildfire victims. That's fantastic. This wasn't about, like, a fleeting moment in the spotlight or anything.
Yep.
It was about creating something that would last, right?
Absolutely.
Do we know any more about this fund? Like, what's it called? What's its mission?
Well, they called it the Phoenix Fund.
Oh, wow.
Which I think is just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a nod to the idea of rising from the ashes, you know?
Yeah, it really is.
And the mission, well, it's all about providing that long-term support.
Right.
Rebuilding homes, businesses,
Of course.
people's lives. But it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
They're also focusing on, like, mental health resources.
Oh, that's important.
Community rebuilding initiatives, and even environmental restoration projects.
Wow.
It's really about addressing all those different layers of impact these disasters have.
It's incredible how this, like, seemingly simple act of collaboration turned into something so much bigger, so profound. It's really making me think about the power of individuals, you know, like how we can really make a difference even when faced with these overwhelming challenges.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, what really strikes me is how this wasn't just about Taylor and Travis, you know? I mean, their involvement, of course, it helped get the message out there.
Right.
But the transcript, it emphasizes how important the community was. It was the fans, the local businesses, the volunteers.
Yeah.
Everyone who came together, that's what made this whole thing really work.
That's such a crucial point. It wasn't just about, like, star power. It was about, you know, people power.
Exactly.
And it really makes me wonder, what are the, like, broader implications of this story? What can we learn from this about collective action and how celebrities can inspire change?
Those are great questions.
Yeah.
And I think they're worth exploring further, definitely.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think our listeners probably feeling just as inspired by what they've heard so far.
Yeah, I bet.
But before we, like, get too carried away with the heartwarming aspects of all this, we should also talk about the role of social media.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which can be, well, a bit of a double-edged sword, right?
Exactly. And the transcript really gets into that.
Oh, does it?
It delves into how complex the role of social media was in this whole initiative.
Interesting.
And it's definitely a topic worth unpacking.
Yeah.
While it helped get the word out and mobilize support, it also brings up some pretty important questions.
Like what?
About, like, the nature of online activism and some potential pitfalls we need to be aware of.
Okay, let's dig into that a little deeper in the next part of our deep dive. There's a lot to unpack there.
Definitely.
And I'm sure our listener is eager to hear more about how social media shaped this whole story.
It's interesting, right, how social media played this, like, multifaceted role.
Yeah, totally.
On the one hand, the transcript shows how platforms like Twitter and Instagram, they were huge in getting the word out about the event. The relief fund, reaching people all over the world. That wouldn't have been possible otherwise. And it made it super easy for people to donate.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, directly through those social media links.
That's true. It definitely, like, broadened the reach and made it so much easier to get involved.
Right.
But you mentioned a double-edged sword earlier, remember?
I did.
What were some of those potential downsides that came up in the transcript?
Well, there's this, like, inherent tension with social media, you know?
Okay.
Between how immediate everything is and the need for actual sustained action.
Yeah.
The transcript actually quotes one of the organizers.
Oh, really?
They were worried about slacktivism.
What's that?
Basically, where people share a post with, like, a photo, but they don't actually do anything beyond that, you know?
Oh, yeah, I've totally seen that.
It's so easy to just, like, get caught up in that feel-good moment of sharing something.
Right.
And then completely forget about the actual issue.
For sure. Didn't the transcript also mention something about misinformation?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like there were some rumors going around online.
Oh, no.
About where the donations were actually going, how the money was being used.
Oh, that's awful.
It shows how important it is to be, like, critical of the information we see online.
Especially with how fast everything moves on social media.
Exactly.
So how do we, like, navigate that? How do we make sure social media is a force for good, especially in situations like this?
I think it comes down to being, like, mindful and intentional.
Okay.
You know, the transcript emphasizes not just reacting emotionally to things, but engaging critically, like fact-checking sources, making sure the information is coming from a place you trust.
Makes sense.
And just, like, diversifying what we're reading and seeing online.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We can't just blindly accept everything we see on social media, right?
You're right.
But beyond, like, being careful about the information we're consuming,
Yeah.
what else can we do to make our social media engagement more meaningful?
The transcript really pushes this idea of taking that online awareness
and turning it into real-world action.
Okay, like what?
Donating, volunteering your time, supporting organizations that are actually working on the ground, you know?
Right.
That's how we go beyond just clicking like or sharing a post.
Right, it's about going beyond the screen and making a real impact.
Exactly.
Now, I want to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
And talk about something else that stood out to me in the transcript.
Okay, what's that?
This whole idea of, like, unexpected partnerships.
Yeah.
We have Taylor Swift, this global pop star, right?
Right.
And then Travis Kelce, this football superstar, joining forces for this cause.
It's pretty amazing.
It's not exactly the most obvious pairing, is it?
Not really, but that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah.
It challenges how we usually think about these things, who can work together and what they can accomplish.
Right.
It's like these two worlds colliding.
Totally.
That seems so different at first glance.
Yeah, but then you realize they both want to use their platform for good.
It really reminds me of something we talked about in a previous episode.
Oh, yeah.
About the power of diversity.
Right.
And not just like, different backgrounds and experiences.
Of course.
But also like different perspectives and areas of influence.
Exactly. This partnership, it really seems to have tapped into that.
Yeah.
The transcript suggests they were able to reach a way bigger audience together than they ever could have on their own.
That makes sense.
Bringing together country music fans, football fans.
Yeah.
And, just people who wanted to help.
It's like they created this like synergy,
Definitely.
that amplified their individual efforts like exponentially.
It's incredible.
So what are your thoughts on the like broader implications of this kind of cross-sector collaboration? Do you think we need more of it?
We absolutely need more of it. The transcript talks about the need for more creative partnerships like this, especially for these like really complex issues.
Right.
Disaster relief, climate change.
Yeah.
It's about breaking down those silos.
Oh, okay.
And recognizing that we need all sorts of perspective and approaches if we want to find solutions that actually work.
I love that. It's about like moving beyond our usual circles.
Right.
And seeing the power of collaboration.
For sure.
But it's not just about these big high-profile partnerships, right?
Not at all.
It's also about the everyday collaborations that happen within communities.
Absolutely.
Among neighbors, friends, families, right?
Exactly. And the transcript illustrates that perfectly.
Has it?
Taylor and Travis, they provided that initial spark, of course.
Right.
But it was the collective effort of, like, tons of individuals that really made this whole thing happen.
You're absolutely right. It wasn't just about two famous people. It was about that spirit of community, that spark that ignited everything.
Totally.
And that brings me back to Sarah's story.
Okay.
The transcript talks about her finding hope through this whole thing. What stood out to you about her journey?
Well, what's really moving is how Sarah's story embodies this idea of resilience. Like even in the face of unimaginable loss, there's this human ability to find strength, to rebuild, and to rediscover hope.
It's incredible.
The transcript actually quotes her saying, "I lost everything material, but what I gained was something far more valuable."
Wow.
A sense of belonging, of shared purpose, and the unwavering belief that together we can overcome anything.
That's powerful.
It really is.
It's like the whole experience brought out this like profound sense of community and connectedness.
Yeah.
And it like went beyond the tragedy itself,
It really did.
Do you think there's a bigger lesson here about the human spirit, about how we can find hope even when things are really dark?
Absolutely. And it's something that feels so relevant right now,
Yeah, totally.
We're all facing so many challenges these days.
Right.
Climate change, social unrest, economic uncertainty.
It's a lot.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to lose hope.
Yeah, for sure.
But Sarah's story and the way everyone came together after the wildfires, it reminds us that even when things are tough, the human spirit is incredibly resilient.
That's beautiful.
It's about finding strength in each other and creating a better future, even when it feels like everything's falling apart.
It's almost like that phoenix rising from the ashes, just like the name of their relief fund.
I know, right?
And it makes me think about something we've been talking about.
Okay.
This idea that the things that mean the most to us, well, they often come from the most unexpected places.
I think you're right. We spend our lives searching for meaning and purpose.
We do.
But sometimes it's those unexpected things that happen.
Yeah.
The challenges we face, the people we meet along the way.
Right.
That's what leads us to those truly amazing discoveries.
It's like this whole wildfire experience was a catalyst for something much bigger, you know?
I think so.
It brought people together.
It did.
It sparked all this compassion and generosity. And ultimately, it created this really profound sense of shared purpose.
It's beautiful.
But there's another layer to this story that we haven't talked about yet, I think.
Oh, what's that?
This idea that meaning and purpose, they're not just things we find.
Okay.
They're things we create.
That's a great point. And the transcript kind of hints at that, you know?
Yeah.
Both Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, they showed us that finding your purpose, it's not about waiting for something to happen to you.
Right.
It's about looking for ways to make a difference, to be part of something bigger.
Yeah.
It's about knowing that we all have the power to create meaning in our own lives and the lives of others.
It's like they weren't just responding to this wildfire situation. They were actually shaping it.
Totally.
Creating this whole narrative of hope and resilience that resonated with so many people.
They really did.
And that makes me wonder, has our listener ever experienced something like that?
That's a good question.
Where they felt the sense of purpose come from, like an unexpected place. What did you learn from that experience, and how did it change how you see the world?
Those are some great questions to think about.
Yeah.
It's often in those times when we step outside our comfort zone, you know?
Yeah.
When we face challenges head on. That's when we discover what we're really capable of.
I like that.
And that we can actually make a difference, create something meaningful.
It's like we all have this capacity for growth and transformation inside of us.
We do.
And sometimes it just takes something unexpected, like a crisis or a challenge, to bring it out.
You're right. And, you know, as we've been talking, I've been thinking about how this story connects to the bigger picture.
Okay.
Like, we're living in a time where it's easy to get bogged down by all the negativity and division.
Yeah.
But this story, it shows us that there's another way.
It does.
A different kind of story we can tell.
Yeah.
It reminds us that even with all the bad stuff happening, there's still so much good in the world.
I agree.
There's compassion, there's generosity, and this incredible human ability to be resilient and to come together.
It's like a beacon of hope, reminding us that we're not alone in all this.
Exactly.
And it reinforces the idea that we all have the power to make a difference.
We do.
To be a part of something bigger than ourselves.
It's true.
So I think it's a good time to transition to the final part of our deep dive, don't you?
I think so.
We've talked a lot about the emotional impact of this story, the community response, the broader implications, but we haven't really touched on the tangible outcomes yet.
Oh, good point.
Like, what actually happened as a result of this initiative? What were the concrete results?
That's a great point. It's easy to, get caught up in the inspiring narrative, right?
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this whole initiative had very real, concrete outcomes.
Okay.
The transcript actually mentions that the event raised over $10 million for wildfire relief.
Wow, that's incredible.
And the Phoenix Fund, it's still going strong.
That's great to hear.
Distributing grants to individuals, families, community organizations.
So it's really making a tangible difference.
Oh, absolutely. It's helping people rebuild their lives.
That's amazing.
But beyond just the money,
yeah,
the transcript also highlights how much the initiative boosted community morale.
Right.
And gave people this sense of shared purpose.
It's like it wasn't just about rebuilding homes and businesses.
Right.
It was about rebuilding hope.
Exactly.
And that sense of community.
Absolutely. Rebuilding, it goes way beyond bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
It's about restoring hope, fostering resilience, and rebuilding that sense of community.
It sounds like this initiative really did that.
It did, in a really profound way.
It's a great reminder that even when things are really tough, there's always hope. There's always that potential to start over.
Yeah.
And that human connection can really light the way forward.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want you, our listener, to hold on to that sense of hope. Yeah. That belief in the power of human connection. And that commitment to making a difference however you can.
It's so important.
Remember, even the smallest ripple can create a wave of change.
That's true.
It's been such a powerful and inspiring conversation.
Yes.
And I hope it's left you feeling, well, hopeful.
Me too.
And ready to go out there and make a difference.
That's what it's all about.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive
Looking forward to it.
into the stories that matter most.